Dear new owner, you are not the only one watching this house. In 2014, a family bought a beautiful home on 657 Boulevard in Westfield, New Jersey. They had barely moved in when a mysterious letter arrived. Someone called himself the Watcher. The letter was disturbing, but the family tried to ignore it. Then another letter arrived. The writer claimed to have been watching the house for years and knew details about the property. How could a stranger know so much about their new home, and why was he watching them? The family contacted the police, hoping the letters would stop. Instead, the messages became more personal. The writer seemed to know when the family was at home and described the house as if he had been watching it for years. Then came the question that terrified them most. Do you know who I am? The family contacted the police, hoping the letters would stop. Instead, the mystery grew darker. The writer seemed to know intimate details about the house and its history. Investigators began searching for clues, but there was one problem. Nobody knew who the Watcher really was. The second letter arrived on June 18, 2014, and this time the mystery became much more disturbing. The writer was no longer simply talking about the house. The Watcher appeared to know the Broaddeuce's names, and even knew the names of their 3 children. The letter described workers coming and going, mentioned the family unloading their belongings, and referred to details that seemed difficult for a stranger to know. The writer even asked questions about the children and which bedrooms they would use. That changed everything. The family had not even fully moved into their new home, yet someone seemed to be paying close attention to them. Police continued investigating, while the family began wondering about everyone around them. Could the writer be a neighbor, someone who could see the house from another property, or someone who had been watching the home long before the Broaddeuces arrived? Then investigators learned something even stranger. The previous owners, John and Andrea Woods, had also received a letter from someone calling themselves the Watcher shortly before they moved out. They had lived in the house for more than 2 decades and had never experienced anything similar before. Now the question became much bigger. Was this really about the new family, or had someone been watching 657 Boulevard for years? And if the letters were genuine, how close was the Watcher actually living to the house? The investigation became more intense as detectives tried to determine who could have written the letters. The family began looking closely at the people who lived nearby, while investigators examined the house, surrounding properties, and the strange details mentioned in the messages. Then an important fact emerged. The previous owners had also received a letter from the Watcher. That meant the writer may have been interested in the house itself, not simply the new family. Police considered multiple possibilities. Could the letters have been written by a neighbor? Could someone see the house from a nearby property? Or was the writer simply trying to frighten the family without ever getting close? The family became increasingly uncomfortable. They worried about their children and ultimately decided not to move into the house as planned. But the biggest mystery remained untouched. If the Watcher had really been observing the house for years, how had the writer remained completely anonymous? And more importantly, was the person sending the letters still watching 657 Boulevard? The family still refused to move into 657 Boulevard. The house they had dreamed of owning had become a place they were afraid to enter. Meanwhile, investigators continued searching for the person behind the letters. The case became a neighborhood mystery. Police looked into people who lived nearby and examined possible connections to the house, but nothing produced a definitive answer. Then the family made a difficult decision. They tried to sell the property, but there was a problem. Who would want to buy a house that came with letters from an anonymous Watcher? The family eventually found a buyer, but the story did not simply disappear. The letters had already turned 657 Boulevard into one of America's strangest real-life mysteries. Investigators never publicly identified the Watcher. No one was charged with writing the letters, and the question that had haunted the family from the beginning remained: was the person watching them actually living nearby, or had the entire mystery been created by someone they never suspected? By now, the mystery had attracted enormous attention. The family had not been able to live normally in the house, and the letters had turned an ordinary suburban property into a symbol of fear and suspicion. Investigators explored several possibilities, including people connected to the neighborhood, but despite interviews and investigation, no one was definitively identified as the Watcher. The family eventually tried to sell the house, but the strange letters made the property extremely difficult to market. Then another possibility emerged. Perhaps the writer had never needed to enter the property at all. From nearby homes, someone could potentially observe the house, its driveway, and the people coming and going. But that was only a theory. There was still no conclusive evidence proving who had written the letters. And this is where the mystery becomes even more disturbing. The Watcher seemed to know things about the family, but investigators could never prove exactly how. The family wanted answers. The police wanted a name, but the letters had left behind only one thing for certain, a mystery with no confirmed author. The mystery eventually reached the courts, the media, and the entire Westfield community. The family had never moved into the house, and after years of fear and uncertainty, they continued trying to understand who had sent the letters and why. Police investigated, but no suspect was officially charged. Then came another disturbing development. A new letter reportedly arrived in 2017 after a long period of silence. According to court documents reported by ABC News, the writer claimed the house had been connected to their family for decades and made threatening references to watching the people inside. The homeowners were terrified enough to keep their identities and address private. Investigators examined possible suspects and the people living around the property, but the case never produced a definitive answer. And that is what makes the story so unsettling. The Watcher seemed to know details about the house and its occupants. The family believed someone was watching them, yet investigators could not prove who the writer was. Could it have been a neighbor, someone connected to the property's past, or someone completely unknown? Even after years of investigation, the identity of the Watcher remained a mystery. And the final question was the most disturbing of all. If the person really was watching the house, was 657 Boulevard ever truly safe? Years passed, but the identity of the Watcher was never confirmed. The Broaddus family ultimately sold 657 Boulevard in 2019, taking a significant financial loss after years of fear and uncertainty. The house passed to new owners and the mystery remained attached to the property. Police had investigated numerous possibilities. Neighbors were questioned. Investigators examined the letters and the people who could potentially see the house. The family even pursued legal action against the previous owners, but the lawsuits did not reveal who had written the messages. No one was ever charged as the Watcher. And perhaps the strangest part is that there was never a confirmed explanation for how the writer knew so much about the family and the house. Was it someone living nearby? Someone who could watch the property from a window? Someone connected to its past? Or was the truth completely different? The real case has no dramatic final reveal like a movie. There is no confirmed killer hiding behind the mystery. There is no proven identity waiting to be uncovered. There is simply an ordinary suburban house, a series of disturbing anonymous letters, and a person who disappeared behind the name The Watcher. The Broaddus family wanted a dream home. Instead, they received a mystery that changed their lives. And even today, the biggest question remains unanswered. Who was watching 657 Boulevard? And why did they want the people inside to know they were being watched?